Hi Betty, how are you today?
I'm doing okay.
Well, that's good. Can you tell me how you've been feeling?
Um, I think overall I've been feeling kind of anxious,
Okay.
pretty anxious. I had a lot going on this week that just raised my anxiety levels. However, last night I saw a good friend, so today I'm feeling pretty good, but
Okay.
overall, I don't know, pretty anxious.
Okay. Okay, and on a scale of maybe like 1 to 10, where would you rate your anxiety level?
Mm, maybe like a 7 or 8.
Okay, so that's pretty high.
Yeah.
Okay. So are there specific situations that have caused these things, or is it a culmination?
Um, I think it's just stress from work.
Okay.
I had a few things come up this week that I really um, kind of put on the back burner because they were causing me anxiety, and then I wasn't getting them done in time, and that was causing me more anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a little bit of a tip with my mom, so that caused some anxiety as well.
Okay. So we're still looking at items at work that are causing anxiety, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we definitely need to look at that today, put that on the agenda. We need to take a look at um, the tip that you had with your mom
Okay.
and also the other anxiety issues related to work. Is there anything else that you wanted to address today?
No, just mostly the anxiety piece because I have been feeling really anxious. I'm not sure that there's really anything else going on that I have that's related to that or that I think is really anything pressing.
Okay. Okay. So we still want to focus on the anxiety for you this week. Okay. Now, so these items that you have for work, they are they the same items you get all the time that give you anxiety? Is there, is it the monthly report? Is it the daily report? Are there particular reports that cause you the most anxiety?
Um, Probably the weekly ones, just because they seem to come. I guess well, maybe it is the monthly ones sometimes because I don't do them in enough time, and then it comes to the very end. I feel kind of similar about the daily and the weekly reports, just because it feels like I always think I'm gonna have enough time to get them done, and then when it comes to it, I just start getting really anxious that I won't get it done in time, and then it turns out to be, a couple nights before, and I still haven't started this item,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just causing me way more anxiety than it needs to. That's kind of what happened this week. Is I had a report that had to get done, and I waited kind of last minute to get it done,
Mm-hmm.
and it caused me to have a little bit of a meltdown.
Okay.
Really high anxiety that week. I would probably rate that like a 10.
Wow. So were you able to utilize any deep breathing techniques during then, or was that at a how were your responses to those?
I was just, I don't know if I didn't really do any of the deep breathing. It was more of just, I just felt so helpless and like I wasn't ever going to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kept worrying about, what the outcome would be.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a lot of just feeling like I wasn't going to get it done in time, and, that I would just be this huge failure for not getting it done.
I can understand. That would be very frustrating, caused me to be very anxious too. So what was the outcome of these reports that you waited till the last minute on? Did you get them completed in time, and were they acceptable, good?
I mean, I got them done. They were acceptable, but they really weren't to my standards, so I think I'm pretty upset about that still. I could have done a lot better. I think if I had given myself more time to get these things done, I would have done a lot better at finding the right information, making sure that everything was cohesive and it made sense and, grammatically correct. And,
Mhm.
you know, like I said, it was acceptable. They still accepted the reports. It was
Mhm.
just, I could have done so much better.
Mhm. I can understand that. So maybe you also want to take a look at some time management skills. I think that may also help. I mean, if we know that there's going to be reports that are coming out that every single time or almost every single time cause anxiety, cause stress, if you even know that it's coming and it's causing stress, then we need to sit down and do a time management where we can look at addressing when we need to look at those things, how we can possibly make it in a smaller fashion for you where it's not as anxiety ridden. So I think that would be very important to get you started on that as well. So if although they were acceptable and you don't feel that you did your best, do you think that you could have done better had you given yourself more time, or do you think that you might have still put it off?
I don't know. I guess I'm just really critical of myself anyways, so I'm not sure if I would have. I would like to think that I would have felt better about them getting done, but I know I'm really critical of myself and that I may still think that I would have failed at the project anyways.
It's true. And a lot of times those are the feelings that overwhelm us, are the feelings that I could have done so much better. Why didn't I do better? I would be more proud of myself if I was able to do this in a better fashion. So I think that's also going to be a part of what we're looking at today as well. On our agenda, we're going to be looking at a homework. We're going to be going through a thought record, so we can sit down and go over some of the thoughts and feelings that are happening, and what we're going to look at as far as how to balance those. Okay, so I know that we had your homework that we had was for your mindfulness practices. How is that going?
It's going. I feel like I did pretty well. I had a hard time doing it as far as like situations that I'm feeling anxious in right off the bat, but I made sure to try and do them every night.
Mm-hmm.
When I was like thinking about those situations and that was causing me some anxiety, I was able to sit at home and really sit down and have that quiet space and do some of that deep breathing. But as far as actually doing it in the moment, I guess I kind of failed at that.
Well, there's no failing, and that's also another automatic thought that we're going to talk about. It's Although you may say that to yourself, that automatically comes to mind. That's your first thought. That doesn't mean that it's true, and we have given ourselves time and time again to prove to ourselves that we think that this item is true or not. And if we have those negative ideas about ourselves, I'm just a failure, I'm too anxious, I won't get this done anyway, you're setting yourself up for failure. So we want to be able to make sure that we're giving you the tools that you need and the experience and the learning that's going to allow you to recognize these things for yourself and go forward to do more work on your own. So are there any, I wanted to ask about the other times that you were able to use the mindfulness breathing. Was there a particular time that you found it was helpful, or that you didn't find it was helpful, or did you have any issues with that as well?
I guess for me the hardest thing is just finding space to myself to have that quiet place without too much distraction. To like sit down and do these breathings. So I think that's why I spent a lot of time doing them like right before bed. But yeah, that was the biggest issue with that, was just finding space. And I think it's hard too because at work I don't think about going to go find a quiet space, and I don't even know where I could begin to find one. But I guess I could probably be doing the deep breathing anyways. And then at home it gets a little stressful because I'm there with my mom and my partner, and sometimes it's really chaotic, you know, with the TVs all on and not really having a quiet space to myself since I share a room with my partner. Um, so I found that a little bit difficult.
Okay. Well, we can also look at too, maybe finding alternate locations that would allow you to be comfortable to try the deep breathing techniques. For example, not necessarily that you have to go out physically and do something, but maybe get in the car, go for a ride. You know, go. Don't necessarily do a lot of heavy thinking while you're driving. That can be dangerous. But you know, for example, go and watch a sunset, or you know, go and watch some people skating or throwing frisbee in the park. You know, make your car your portable little station where you can give yourself that space and that time to breathe. You know, possibly bring in a CD that you like of calming music. Aromatherapy works great. I've seen all kinds of people that now have the aromatherapy little perfume roll-ons that you can pick whichever scent you want to help you relax. And I think that will help you to kind of make your own space. Because although you don't have a specific space yourself, you can make that your space. Surround yourself in there with things that are good for you or make you happy, that kind of stuff. So I think that probably to give you a better option for having your time to have a mindfulness breathing exercise. I think that will help you a lot. Okay, so so the thought record. So this is going to be very similar, like I was talking about for the journaling. I'm going to give you this handout when you go home. So this is from a book called Mind Over Mood. There's a lot of worksheets in here. It's a great book. So we have a thought record. Now, this thought record indicates hot thoughts, and hot thoughts are the most pressing thought that's happening at that particular moment, the most high priority one. So that's what a hot thought is. So, for example, in the first section, we're looking at the situation. So, where are you? When, you know, what's going on? Who is there? We can write that situation in. 2 is your mood. So, how do you feel? Rate your mood. A 1 to 10. Anxious, not anxious. It's up to you to gauge how you would like to indicate those things. You know, you can definitely rate your mood from 0 to 10 or 0 to 100. And then the next part of it is going to be the automatic thoughts that are happening. So, for example, those thoughts of, well, I'll fail anyway. I don't know why I didn't fail. You know, I'm having these problems, and it's those automatic things that come to you that you're unable to take the feelings away from. So you're having, so you're looking at the situation, what your mood is. You're going to be going through any of the automatic thoughts that you have. Just write them down. Anything that comes into your brain. Then we're going to look at the evidence that supports the most triggering thought. Now, for example, if it's something where, you know, I wasn't going to get the report turned in on time, for example, if you're looking at automatic thoughts for that, my reaction might be something along the lines of, oh, well, of course I failed at that. I'm not good at anything. I'm terrible at planning. I'm this, I'm that. Those are the things that I automatically think. So what I want to look at is the evidence that says, yeah, you're right. I always do fail. I always do these things. So what we need to look at is kind of rationalizing what the thought is actually about. So you can say, you know, I feel like I'm going to fail because I've always failed before, or I fail a lot. So then when you're looking at the section 5, so this is going to be evidence to you that doesn't support that very high priority thought. So that's going to be things like, well, if I did so poorly at my job, I would have had a discussion with the supervisor by now. Or, you know, I wouldn't have a job if I wasn't able to do my job well. So also an alternative or a balanced thought is going to be option number 6, and this is going to be looking at um, a thought that you could go, well, although I have failed at this before, I can get this report done. This is possible. I've done this one before. It's okay, and I can make it through it. So just basically kind of giving yourself a place to go, you know what? This could actually be best case scenario, you know? And then at the end of this, when you get through the first 1 through 6, or 1 through 5, go ahead and rate your mood again and see how, after looking at all of these things and why they're affecting you, see if it has an effect on your mood and where you're at as far as your anxiety. Okay? Alright. So we went over today, going over your yoga breathing, working on finding a place that's going to be suitable for that. We're also going to be looking at ways to transform some of your journaling into thought records, where we're able to take those things and break them down so it's a little bit easier to look at, even from a visual standpoint. Sometimes when we see things, it's a little easier for us to understand than just to be told them. And then we will take a look at from there any further ways that we can work on time management and those kinds of things for you, and we'll work on in next session. Do you have any feedback for me? Do you have any questions, or?
No, I don't really have any questions. I think this thought record should help, because then I can kind of look at the situations that are causing me anxiety, and maybe how I'm reacting to them, like you said, with these automatic thoughts, and maybe actually looking at the situation and seeing if those thoughts are correct or not.
Okay, that's great. I'm glad to hear that. That shows a lot of willingness to want to change, to want to see those positives happen in your life, and that's a very, very good way to look at it. So you're doing great.
Thank you.
All right, I look forward to seeing you next week.
You too.
All right.